Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to tonight's second half. We are getting that much closer to tonight's Saturday Nightmares live from New York, 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is our live stream. We do have a lot of fun, a lot of experiences, theories, and just, well, a lot of fun. Anyway, that is not why we are here right now. We are here because I have an amazing interview with an amazing person. Before we do that, though, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to the second half, shall we? All right, guys, tonight I have a subscriber with us. She has had a couple of encounters that I just recently shared. She's been researching Bigfoot and had a couple of Dogman encounters. She's got some pretty interesting stuff she wants to share with us tonight. An encounter that I did yesterday was one of hers. Melanie, how are you this evening?
I'm wonderful, Jeff. Thank you for having me on your show.
I appreciate you taking time out of your evening to share with us.
No problem. I love your show.
Thank you. So I remember about 2 weeks ago, I had shared one of your encounters, and in the comment section, you were like, hey, that's my encounter. And I was like, you know, it'd been a while since we'd emailed each other like a year ago or maybe even longer. And I'm like,
yes.
You don't remember emailing me? And you're like, oh, yeah. And people had wanted to hear more of your stuff. So I had narrated two of your experiences. If you want a quick recap on them, because I know you have some very interesting and unsettling experience that you want to share with us tonight.
Yes, sir. Yes. Well, to get back to the other two that you did, the one, and I didn't remember talking to you about this, but I'm old, so I don't know, I forget things. But I was fishing one night, and all the boats had left, all the people on the bank had left. It was about 10:30 at night, and I heard this crashing in the woods, and there were trees breaking in. It sounded like a combine was coming through the woods. It was incredible, and it was across the lake from where I was fishing. It was maybe 200 yards, and there were more woods over there, and I thought, what in the hell is this? What are they breaking trees down for at this time of night? And why are they destroying the woods? And then I thought some more. I kept fishing. And then it dawned on me, no, this is not people out there doing this. This is something wants this lake. Like, I'm at the one edge of this lake. To my right is the curve of the cove and a swamp. And then it is across from me. And something, it's its time. And it's not my time to be here. And it is having a fit. And I kept hearing this. It went on for like 20 minutes, this trees breaking and being torn down. And it was just the most destruction I've ever heard. So I finally decided I needed to get out of there, like give this thing, whatever it was, its time at the lake. So I went up, got my car. I didn't even like take my stuff up there dumbly. I just brought my car down, loaded up, and I left. But the next morning I went back to the other side of the lake, and I could see where I had been fishing from where the dock was across the lake. But it didn't. I wouldn't even have needed that. The spot that I had heard this at was like a tornado had touched down. The trees were, these huge trees were broken off like 10 feet up. They were thrown into the tops of other trees. There were pieces of trees on the ground, and some of them had been, I swear to God, stomped on like into splinters. It was, I've never seen anything like it in my life. So it totally proved to me that there was something that was having a fit over there. Now, at the beginning of these woods, there was, when you first came into them, there was a dead deer. Its belly had been ripped open. It wasn't cut. It was ripped open. Its guts were gone, but the meat was all there. The pelt was all there. All 4 of its legs were broken in 2 places. Like they were broken at a little ways up from the ankle and between the thigh and the knee. All broken, and it was laying there right at the beginning of these woods. And that told me that was like something warning everybody, just stay the hell out of here. Yeah. So over time, I started researching these woods, and I found footprints. I was trying to set a game camera up one night, and it was really late. And I had no headlamp on. I had no flashlight. I just had my phone. And all of a sudden, one of them to the right of me, something called. And 5 seconds later, to the left of me at the swamp, it made another call. And it was almost like an owl, but it went from an owl sound into like this crazy, garbly, growly sound. And then not a minute later, they did it again. The one to the right of me made the sound call. The one to the left of me answered it. And if I would have stayed, I would have seen what it was. But I chickened out and I went to my car. I just tied that game camera on a tree as fast as I could, and I got the hell out of there. Yeah. Another time I was out on the dock at the same lake, but at a different area. And there's a dock that goes way out into the lake. And I was fishing out there, and it goes out and then it goes to a T, and I was at the left of the T. So the woods were to my left. Well, there were woods all around, but to the left of me was like the main woods. And I heard this crash, 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 crash coming through the woods. Never heard any howling, never heard any coyotes, nothing. All of a sudden, the biggest buck, or the biggest doe I have ever seen, dove out of those woods into the lake and swam like a beast across that lake to the other side. And I was still listening to the crashing going on. So I don't know what that was, but all I could think of was I had to walk past those woods to get back to my car. So I just stood there, thinking, what am I going to do? The only thing I could do is jump in the lake if it came out of there. Right. But finally, I stayed there because I didn't know what to do, and it quieted down. And then I just, went ahead and went to my car and went home without any incidents.
That's crazy. Yeah, wow.
But that was a while ago. So then recently, the encounter you told about last night where there was a picnic. Okay, so I'm going to back up here. So where I live, my backyard is a state park. It's like a 60s.
Don't mean to cut you off, but you're in Ohio. I just want everyone to point that out, a hot spot.
Northeast Ohio, it is a very big hot spot. There are so many cryptids around here. There's a lot of old mines. And where I live, I am a quarter mile from a 1930s ammunition arsenal that is 22,000 acres. Wow. And they are supposedly closed down, but they have so many underground facilities that nobody knows what's going on over there. But there's a lot of rumors that they're dealing with like UFOs and aliens and things, which I believe it. Yeah. Like I sent you a picture of the one satellite view of some crazy thing. It looks like a snake. It's a. Did you get that?
No, I just got the couple from the dam and stuff. I didn't get that.
Okay, I sent you one from the arsenal. Somebody sent me a satellite view where there's this thing, this mound thing. I mean, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Okay. And I'm not sure where it is because this place is 22,000 acres. But okay, so there's a dam, like a quarter. So the dam is in my backyard. Like the state park is in my backyard. Part of the woods for the park are my property, and then I could see the dam from my backyard. So I just come down the roads, and I go around, and I go to this boat ramp place where it's right by the dam. So like where I'm sitting even right now, I'm looking at the dam, It's to my right, but it's about maybe 300 yards from me. So this one Saturday, this was like December 3rd, I believe. A friend of mine from Cleveland came to visit, and he's one of my fishing buddies. That's what we always do. We go fishing or mushroom hunting. And I said, it's not that bad out. Let's go fishing. So we came down here to this area that I'm sitting at right now, looking at the dam. And we had our headlamps on. And this is like so crazy. I just want everybody to know that this is the honest to God truth. I really saw this. We really saw this. So we're fishing, and I had a bottom line thrown out, and we each had a bobber line thrown out. It was about, 11 o'clock at night, midnight, something like that. It was very late. Well, all of a sudden he said, "Your line." And I looked over, and I don't know if you've ever had a bottom line set out and something bumped it. Like, this lake is full of muskie and northerns and everything, so right. my pole didn't jump up and down, but it went sideways. So it was like something bumped my line. So I said, well, that must have been a muskie or something coming through. So I went back and I tightened it up, came back to my bobber line, and all of a sudden, right in front of us, and I swear to God, Jeff, this is the honest to God truth, this thing came up out of the water, just rose up out of the water. It was conical. It was, how do I describe it? Like if you think of a buoy, and the way a buoy is shaped, it just goes up and around and down.
Yep.
That's what this looked like, and it was about 2 feet up out of the water, and it just rose straight up out of the water, maybe 20 feet in front of us. Like, our bobbers were probably 10 feet, 12 feet out. This was a little farther than our bobbers. It came up to the looking at it, to the left of it. Another one came up the exact same shape, and it was about maybe a foot out of the water. It was like a foot high. And then to the left of that, this little tiny one came up, and it was maybe, 8 inches high. It was just a little one. And they just sat there. And I couldn't see a face. There was no discernible face. There were no features. They were just rounded on top like buoys, but they weren't buoys, and they weren't any kind of an animal. I mean, it was December. It wasn't like baby season or anything. Like, they just sat there and they watched us for about 3 minutes. They stayed there. And then the big one just went down. Now, when it went down in my headlamp in the water, because the water was very clear, I swear I saw this. Possibly I'm mistaken, but I swear to God I saw gold, because they were like a pale gold color. I saw this gold tail, and it was bigger than a human being. It was like, and it kind of swirled, but there was not a ripple on that water. The water stayed just like glass. It went down, the medium-sized one went down, and then the little one went down. They came up again to our right, or no, to our left, I'm sorry. They went to the left, and they came up again. The big one came up, then the littler one came up, and then the little tiny one came up, and they stayed there for about 2 minutes, and it was like they were watching us, and my friend is freaking out. He's from Cleveland. He is not into cryptids. He doesn't believe in cryptids. Right. He doesn't have any kind of, he was freaking out. He was like, what the F are those things? Why are they watching us? What are they? So they came up again, and they sat there, and I'm just looking at them, and it never dawned on me to take my damn phone out of my pocket and get a picture of them. I was so enthralled by them. I was so shocked at what I was seeing. Well, pretty soon they went down again, and they came up way to our right, closer to the dam. Excuse me. The big one came up, just rose straight up out of the water. Then the next size one. Then the little one was like right behind the medium-sized one, and they just sat there. Not any longer than a minute this time, though. And then they disappeared, and I swear to God, they were from that arsenal from the dam. Because the arsenal is only a half a mile, if that, maybe a quarter mile from the dam. And I don't know what they're doing over there, but these things were not animals. They weren't buoys. They weren't Whatever kind of lake animals you could think of. It was December, so there's no babies.
There was definite movement to it, so it was definitely not a buoy, and they were rising
Exactly.
out.
They kept coming up. They came up 3 times.
How deep was that water where they would be at that
is
point?
Probably... Now it gets really deep. The dam is 60 feet deep, so I'm thinking out here where I was fishing, it was probably... I'm guessing it was probably not real deep, maybe 15, 20 feet.
Okay.
But they were so curious about us. I mean, they were so interested in looking at us and what we were doing. And my headlamps shine. Our headlamps are shining on them, you know. And it's like, what are these things?
Yeah.
And then they just went down and they went off. Apparently back towards the dam or towards the arsenal. I don't know. I mean, it's right there, so it's all connected.
Right. Now, was there any kind of, with your headlamp, was there any kind of reflection from its eyes or their eyes? Or
I did not see. That's the weird thing. I didn't see eyes. I didn't see a face. They were just blank. They were just a pale gold color.
Wow.
And with just my headlamp, I could not see any kind of a face, a mouth, a nose, ears, anything. It was just a perfect cylindrical oval, and then they were just pale gold, like there wasn't any kind of features on them at all, which there may have been, but you know, it's with a headlamp, it's hard to really tone in on something like that.
Especially at night on a lake with the reflection of the water and, you know, however the sky is and stuff like that. Yeah.
And the water was like glass. I mean, the water was just so perfectly glass. But it was kind of cold. I mean, it was December 3rd. Mm-hmm. It was a little chilly. But they came up 3 times and they stayed up. Like, it wasn't like they just surfaced and then went back down. They stayed up, and I swear to God, it was like they were watching us.
That's chilling. Oh.
It was very chilling. It was so... I fish out here all the time hoping to see them again.
Yeah, you live right there. You live right there. That's even scarier.
I do. The dam is right in my backyard. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
So...
Really quick, if you don't mind, I don't mean to cut you off, but you said that fine. You think they come from the arsenal and stuff, and, you know, rumor mill around the arsenal is, you know, extraterrestrial, this and that. What other, is there any cryptid rumor that, you know, that's going on?
There are so many Bigfoot sightings around here. They go back decades. Like can I tell you the name of the park? Is that a good idea or
whatever
not?
You want. I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to. It's your story.
No, I'll go ahead and tell you. It's West Branch State Park in Portage County, Ohio.
Okay.
And Portage County is like a hot spot, like you would not believe, for cryptids. Mm-hmm. I've had teenagers that have seen a crawler in a tree.
Really?
I saw a Dogman. Oh yeah, I mean, it's like there are so many old mines here, and there's so many woods and just farms, and I mean, it's not built up at all.
You know the kids that saw the crawler?
Oh yeah, they were my daughter's friends. They would always come over to our house, you know, and hang out.
Yeah.
And then one day, a bunch of them came over, and they were freaking out. And I said, "What is the matter?" They said, "We saw a white thing in a tree." I said, "What are you talking about?" They said, "Down the road into the creek, there was a creek that went across the road." I said, "We were looking back in the creek," and they said there was something white in a tree, and it had these long arms and long legs, and it was just wrapped all the way around this tree and sitting up in this tree like about 15, 16 feet up.
Yeah.
And they were scared. I mean, these kids were not lying. They were scared. And they were teenagers, so it wasn't like they were just, you know, faking it or anything.
Right,
they were scared.
Right. Yeah, and obviously you know them. Crawler. Yeah, you know them, and you know their demeanor. So if they're freaked out, something definitely. And
they always thought they were cool. You know, they were like the cool teenagers. They weren't.
Yeah.
These kids were like 13, 14 years old, and they always thought they were cool, like the older teenagers. You know.
Yeah.
So when they came over and they were all scared, I was like, I believed them. I totally believed them. And then I knew where there was a Bigfoot. A Bigfoot territory right behind, a mile back from my house. And we had a Dogman walk through our yard one winter. I mean, we saw the footprints that dropped from a tree. So that's another thing that happened. So I foster orphan raccoons, and I released them in the woods. And without a mom, you have to feed them for a year. So I go back in the woods like every other day and I feed them. So I'm back in the woods. This was last spring, and I fed the raccoons. I fed the babies, and I had my headlamp on, and I'm looking on the trees and at the base of the trees for mushrooms because I'm a mushroom hunter. All of a sudden, something behind me, and it had to have dropped out of a tree. That's the only thing I could think it did. It dropped out of a tree and it hit the ground so hard, my feet jumped off the ground. Like my body literally came up off the ground. It hit so hard. And I got this feeling that came over me like I was doomed. I was dead. That was it.
Yeah.
The world was ending. Nothing was good anymore. I was a goner. So I couldn't move. 5 minutes I just stood there. I could not move, and I didn't know what was behind me. I was so scared. I couldn't have turned around if I wanted to, actually. But finally I was able to get a breath, and I took a breath, and all I said was, I am not here to hurt you. I don't know what you are, but I swear to God I won't look at you. Just let me walk to my car. And I was able to move my feet, and I just slowly kept my head down. I walked towards my car through the woods, and I could hear it walking behind me. I could hear the branches breaking and the leaves. And I walked to my car. I got in my car. I kept my eyes down, and I did not look at anything except the driveway as I pulled out. And to this day, I'll never know what that was. But I was so scared to look to see. But if I would have seen what it was. So, I always screw myself on this because I always chicken out.
Yeah, you regret not looking, but
exactly.
Who's to say if you did look, you'd be here right now?
Exactly. I was so scared. I had that feeling like if you see me, I'm getting you.
Yeah.
So the other thing that happened, this was recently, not maybe just a couple of weeks ago. Okay, cause I always go around the park at night and I look for Bigfoot or whatever. So I come home and I pull in my drive, and in my backyard I feed the deer. So I always have corn out there. And I pulled in, I think it was a Tuesday, and there were 6 deer in my backyard. So I just sat in my car. I pulled up, sat in my car with my lights on, and I'm watching them. And there were 2 gigantic does, and then 4 smaller ones, and they were all just eating the corn. But this one doe just kept looking at the woods. Like something was really, her ears were twitching, her tail was twitching. She kept looking at the woods. The other ones didn't act like they noticed anything at all. But they kept watching her. Like they kept looking over at her, but then eating again. And she'd eat a little, and then she'd right back to the woods again. All of a sudden, and I mean, this was like the blink of an eye. This thing, I don't know how to describe this thing. It came out of the woods. It looked like a ball. It was like a black ball. It was maybe 3 feet high and maybe 3 feet wide. It was a literal black ball, and it was so fast. It was a blur. Like it came out of the woods, and none of the deer noticed it except that one big doe. And she turned her head, and she looked at it, and she turned back and looked at the woods, and she took off like a bat out of hell. And this thing was so fast, it almost looked like it was pulling itself by its front legs.
Okay. Or
hands or whatever they were. It just stayed in a ball, but it was just traveling by pulling itself along. And it was right on her ass. As fast as she was, this thing was right on her ass. And they took off into the woods, and the other deer looked up. They looked back at the woods where it came from, and they looked at where she went, and they just kept on eating. Like they did not see it. It was so fast they didn't even see it.
Yeah.
And they were wondering what scared her. Like, what did she run off for? Like they didn't even know.
Wow.
Excuse me, but it was probably the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't
imagine. Know what it was.
Like the way you describe, like the black ball, and then it propelling itself with its with its front paws or arms or whatever. You know, it's almost like it was just, you know, in hyper mode, you know, just.
Definitely was. And I sent you those pictures. I sent you a picture of the claw marks.
Mm-hmm.
Back, there's like behind my house, it's woods. And then it goes way down into this creek that goes into the lake. And then way back up, well, there's a pathway that comes through there. And there was a log, and it had snow on it, and there were claw marks on it. And I could tell the pathway where things come up into my yard. Some of them were deer paths, but this one wasn't a deer path. It was like bigger feet.
Right. Wow. That's absolutely.
And then there's
terrifying.
other places around here where I've encountered, like, there's one place by the bridle trails. There's a place where there's bridle trails in the park.
Okay.
And I saw this path, and I was like, and it's not a deer path, no deer poop, not all muddy. It was just like a path went back in there. And there's a huge X, and there is a creek, and it was iced over. And I have pictures of, and I sent those to you too, where something huge had walked through this creek, and it walked towards where this tree was broken at the creek, and something had taken these gigantic pieces of trees and like pulled them in half and put the halves down as a little bridge or a dam. I don't know what they did, why it's there, but like there's so many different tree talk back there. Something is back there. I've left apples back there and they've disappeared, which could be deer, but I don't see any deer poop back there.
Right. Yeah, that's incredible.
This park is fascinating. I mean, there's so many weird things back here.
Yeah. The encounter that I shared last night, which you really didn't touch too much on, but that one really terrified. You know, it reminded me of
my God, the
encounter.
eyes.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, okay. So
if you don't
I
mind.
just had this. No, I don't mind at all. I had this feeling about this area because it's like there's a marina,
mm-hmm.
and there's 3 different picnic areas. Well, the first one has all these trees in front of the woods, you know, so like I started going back there, and I was just kind of spotlighting back there, and I'd see eye shine, but I wasn't sure if it was just raccoons or deer. The deer's eye shine is usually orange, like an orange color.
Yeah.
And then the raccoons are white, you know, so I'm looking back there, and then I decided, you know, damn it, I'm going to see what I can draw out here. So you pull back in, and then you get to the end of where the driveway goes back into the picnic area, and then there's a circle. I would just sit at the end of the driveway. So I'm to the left of me is woods, to the right of me is woods. To the left of me are the woods I'm looking at. So I would turn my car off, turn all my lights off, and I would take this red strobe light on my headlamp, and I would strobe the woods, and then switch to spotlight, and then strobe the woods, switch to spotlight. Well, the 4th time I did it is when I saw all these eyes. And I thought, what the hell is this? What are all these eyes all of a sudden? I mean, they were just there all of a sudden. And that kind of freaked me out. And then the fact that I had like woods on both sides of me,
mm-hmm.
like I didn't know what I was looking at. So I went ahead after a little while. I watched them for a while. Then I left. I came back the next night, and that's when I saw these red lights on something to my left, like over by those woods, but a little to the left. There were these red circles, and I thought, I didn't see anything before that had red circles, and they weren't blinking or anything. They weren't moving. So I thought, well, maybe it's something the park has out there that I didn't notice before, you know, like maybe I didn't notice it's a grill or a garbage can, or I don't know. So I'm just watching them, and I was fascinated by them, so I kept my light on them. All of a sudden, they blinked, and I thought, damn, that was something big. That's something big over there. And then they came back on, and I watched them. They didn't move again. So again, I thought, I need to get out of here, so I left. Well, this is what I do. I'm a researcher, right? So I'm not going to get scared off by all this stuff. So the next night I come back. So the next night when I came back, you know, I'm like red strobing the woods, and I'm spotlighting, and all of a sudden I notice way over to my left, there is a huge tree, and there is something behind this tree with the biggest darkest red eyes I've ever seen in my life. And it is just like, it's looking at me from the side of the tree. And I knew it wasn't anything from the park. I knew it had not been there before. So I'm watching it, and these eyes were so big, and it started going from the side, coming out a little ways, and then it went back behind the tree and came out the other side. And it was looking at me from the other side. And I got this feeling like it was pissed off. Like I had upsetted the whole community. Like I got everybody wound up.
Right.
And it was not happy about it. And it kept going back and forth behind this tree. Like, and I could see, I had a flashlight this time, a big high-powered flashlight. I couldn't see I couldn't see it clearly, but I could see the mass of its body, and it was gigantic. And it was just like back and forth behind this tree. It would come to the right, it would go back to the left, it would come to the right, and then it would come out farther and start to come towards me. And then it would go, and I felt its frustration. Like it wanted to come get me so bad, but it didn't. It knew it shouldn't. You know, I mean, I just felt that like it's a state park. You don't just go get somebody.
Right.
But it was so pissed off, and it would go back and forth behind this tree, and then come out and come forward, and then go back again, and that really freaked me out. And I thought, damn, I really got this thing wound up. Like I need to get out of here. So I left, and I just left it alone for a couple of weeks. I didn't want to antagonize it.
Yeah.
You know, and whatever I had done, I felt bad about it. So I left. I started just researching different areas, and I just recently started going back there, but I haven't seen anything back there since. I think they might have moved on.
I found it interesting because you had said like you had like you felt like this fear and dread, but you also
I had this big voice in my head saying, "Get out of here!"
Yeah,
you need to get out. And like it was just loud.
But like you also
but not
explained,
like a voice.
Yeah, but you explained like you felt like this whatever this thing was had a intelligence to it that it knew. You know, if I do get this person, there's going to be consequences to it. You know,
absolutely. Absolutely. It was holding itself back with the skin of its teeth. I mean, it wanted to tear me up so bad.
Yeah.
Because it kept coming like it was coming out. And then it would go back, and I just felt its frustration. Like, damn, I want to tear this chick up because she got everybody wound up, you know, and we can't have this.
Yeah, yeah. And it was almost like there was a little family out there, you said.
It was a community of them. I mean, there were so many eyes. And I think the lower ones were the little ones, because they didn't go behind the trees. They just stayed looking, you know. And then there were the other ones, the higher up ones, and they would go behind the tree and come out, go behind the tree, come out, look at me. But I don't think but then there were the little ones, and they didn't go anywhere. They just stayed looking. And I just got this feeling like it was a community of them. And I just got them so wound up.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a good thing.
Most definitely. It was terrifying. Like when I was narrating it, I was just like, this is crazy. This is, you know, it reminded me of what kind of happened to me with what I saw in the woods.
With them looking at you.
The fear. Yeah. So.
And they wanted to come out at you.
Yeah.
But something held them back. Yep. Exactly the same.
Now, your friend that you had that sighting with of these the aquatic creatures, what was their kind of assumption? You know, what were they feeling?
Oh my God, Kevin was freaking out. He's from Cleveland. He's never seen anything like this. He kind of takes my Bigfoot researching with a grain of salt.
Right.
You know, he just kept looking at them and looking at me and saying, what the F are these things? What the F are these things looking at us? Because they were literally right in front of us looking at us. And he had no idea what they were, and he was just like tripping out. He didn't know what to think of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I'm into cryptids, so I just figured they were wild. It was a water family. That's what it looked like. It looked like a mom and then two kids. That's exactly what I got the feeling of it. It was a mom and two kids. But he was tripping out. He just could not believe they were they were right there looking at us, and they stayed up for like 3 minutes. So it wasn't like they were driftwood or anything.
Right.
You know, I mean, they were a living thing.
And then they go underwater and move a little to a different spot and come back up.
They go to the left, yep, and then they went to the right, and they came back up, and they just kept coming up and looking at us. And the fact that one of them bumped that my line got bumped.
Yeah.
And my pole went back and forth, like I knew something bumped it, and that's right when they came up. So I know that was one of them bumped it. But I swear to God, that one, when it went down, I saw a tail. But I mean, it was like a golden, I know this sounds so crazy, nobody's going to believe this, but it looked like a golden body with a fish tail, you know, like as bigger than a human being. But it never made a mark on the water. It never made a ripple. There was no wake. There was no nothing. It was just as smooth as could be. And maybe I didn't see that, but I would bet money on the fact that I actually saw that. Right.
Yeah, that's absolutely chilling. You know, and the fact that it's right there in your backyard, you know.
It is, and it's where I fish all the time. So yeah. I didn't feel any meanness from them. I didn't feel any. There was no hostility. There was just a feeling of curiosity.
Yeah,
exactly. Like they just wondered, what were we, you know, and what were we doing? And
now, has there been any like reported sightings of like Bigfoot in the park that by campers or stuff?
Oh, there's tons of sightings in this park. There's footprints. They found footprints, mostly by the campground, but I think that's only because that's where people are.
Yeah.
But all through this park, there are like decades of sightings of Bigfoot and Dogman and other cryptids. It's just it's an old. Well, what they did is when they put the reservoir in, mm-hmm. they flooded farms and Indian burial grounds. They just flooded it all.
Okay.
And put the reservoir in. Excuse me. It's thick.
Okay.
And there are so many sightings back here. But then Portage County itself, like I lived in Wayland, or I lived in, not Wayland, Atwater, and that area has got so many sightings, and that's only like maybe 10 miles from me. They have a lot of old mines, old coal mines, and old, you know, like shale mines.
Yeah, it's mines.
That's where I saw the Dogman.
Yeah, these things are, you know, and I find it interesting that there's an old military arsenal with underground, you know, facilities there too.
Facilities.
Dumbs, you know, these dumbs and cryptids go hand in hand.
They do. My dad worked there. My husband worked there. They know like what's there. There's all these underground facilities. In fact, when they built the dam, my dad helped put the electric out on the point of it. Mm-hmm. So he would take me in there all the time, you know, like when I was just a little bitty out on the dam. Now you can't go out on the dam unless you walk. You used to be able to drive out there and park and like check out the dam. And I used to live not where I live now, but a little ways up the road. Okay. And if I walked through my backyard, I could get to the dam, to where the rocks were, and I would fish there. But now I have to kind of drive around because I don't, you know, it's like a mile to walk down to that place now from where I live. But it's very creepy out here. I mean, it's really, there is so much, it's just so, it's all woods. I mean, it's all thick woods.
It definitely sounds creepy. It definitely really does. The aquatic things, the Dogman, the crawler, it's just, you know, with the underground facilities, it's just, it's definitely a location primed for activity, you know?
It is. It's waiting to happen.
Yeah,
There's so much going to happen out here.
Most definitely.
I love it. I love researching out here. There's just so much to see.
Yeah, it's definitely
But it's
fun.
a little, I wish I wouldn't be so scared. I wish I could stand my ground when these things happen and see what I'm going to see. I just have to get to that point where I'm not so scared to actually see.
Well, I think you should listen to your gut, you know, and don't push it. That way you're hearing that, you know, you have an experience, and, you know, that way you're not jeopardizing your safety, you know, so.
Well, I finally got a gun. I finally bought a gun, so I could, but it's not a big gun or anything. I don't think it would do anything, but makes me feel like, because I'm alone. I'm an alone researcher. Like, I'm never with anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm always by myself, so it's kind of scary.
Yeah, yeah. But definitely, I think you're doing it right, you know, with your you know when to go. You know, like with the spotlight thing, you were in your car, you were smart about it. I think that was smart. You knew when to go, you know, which is key. You know, you don't want to push fate too far.
Right. You're right about that, but I want to see one bad.
Yeah.
I just want to see I want to see it. I want to see what I'm researching.
Yeah.
And I always chicken out as soon as I come close. But I know they're there. I'm going to see something. Well, I saw the water people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm going to see
you did see a Dogman.
Days.
You did see the Dogman, but I mean, you want a face-to-face, I guess, you know, and
I want to see a Bigfoot. I really want to see a Bigfoot.
Right.
I don't want to be scared by it. I mean, isn't that crazy? I want to see one, but I want it to be like a good sighting.
Yeah. No, most definitely.
Like everybody thinks. Jeff, thank you so much for letting me come on and talk about my encounters.
I appreciate you coming on. Do me a favor, don't hang up. I want to talk to you for a little bit after we end this. But it's been a pleasure talking to you.
You also.
I know that you've got a researcher that you're going to connect me with, and I'm looking forward to talking with that person.
Oh, William Lunsford.
Yeah.
You're going to love him. He is amazing. He's one of the original witnesses to Vista Bray Road.
Okay.
And he's been researching for over 50 years.
Yeah.
And he has seen things, and he's been chased by a gugwe. I mean, he's the real deal.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking with him. But do me a favor, don't hang up. Be safe, okay? Listen to your gut. Listen to your you know, you don't tempt fate. You know, people want to have you around so you can share your experiences with us too. And
Thank you, Jeff.
The Aquatic thing was just amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us as well.
Oh, I hope I see him again. I hope I can get pictures of him for you.
Definitely, that would be very cool. Wouldn't
that be great?
I've never heard of anything like that. So thank you.
I know, I never saw anything like that.
Yeah, but thank you. Don't hang up, okay?
Okay, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
You too.
And there you have it, folks. Tonight's second half, getting us that much closer to the live stream. I hope to see you all there, 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Guys, thank you for supporting this channel. It is honestly your support and your support alone that keeps this channel growing and going, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free, simply treated with the respect we all deserve. So thank you. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real, they are out there, and they are dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless.